Procrastination is a choice you're making, not because you're lazy, overwhelmed, or stuck in bad circumstances. It's simply a way to avoid discomfort. The good news is that overcoming procrastination is easier than you think. In this video, I'll start by briefly discussing procrastination. Then I will share 4 rules for beating it. And don't miss the third rule, because it's a game changer when it comes to overcoming procrastination. So without wasting any time, let's get started. Procrastination is simply avoidance, avoiding fear, boredom, or effort, finally making you stop doing any work. Maybe the task feels too hard, too boring, or you're scared of not doing it well. But procrastinating the work doesn't make it disappear. It just adds more stress. It's like putting a lid on a boiling pot, stopping the steam for a moment but not solving the heat inside. Telling yourself you'll do it later is just a comforting excuse. Tomorrow won't give you more motivation. It will just give you less time to get things done. Now we understand procrastination. Let's see how we break this cycle and get free from procrastination. While there are many videos on the internet, but majority of them only address the symptoms, like deleting social media or removing distractions. While these may help in the short term, they fail to address the real issue. The root cause of procrastination can be summed up in one word: inertia. Before we begin, let's assume that inertia is the same as procrastination. In physics, inertia is the tendency for objects to stay at rest, and objects in motion to stay in motion unless acted upon by an external force. This also happens to be Newton's first law of motion, and it applies just as much to tasks as it does to objects. Getting started on any task, no matter how small, requires an initial push and some amount of energy to overcome the resting state of inertia. But when we try to start any task, we often think it's too difficult and believe we need a huge initial push to get going. We make this first step seem so big and challenging in our minds that instead of making progress, we end up avoiding the task entirely and distracting ourselves with easy, dopamine-boosting activities. So remember to break procrastination. We need to break inertia. 4 fantastic ways to do this. Now, let us discuss the first rule, which is start with simple steps using Pomodoro. Getting started is the most difficult part, so make this as easy as possible by reducing the stakes and taking the smallest step forward. For example, if you tell yourself, I have to finish a 500-page book in one day, the task can seem enormous, and the big inertia kicks in. But if you say, I'll just read 10 pages for 5 to 25 minutes in a day, the pressure is much lower, and the inertia is much lower. Now it's easier to begin. By focusing on a tiny, manageable step, you can get started without relying on too much willpower. Here we can use the Pomodoro Technique. This technique breaks your reading task into focused 25-minute intervals, helping you concentrate fully on the task without distractions. By taking 5-minute breaks after each Pomodoro session, you give your mind time to rest. Once you start, momentum takes over and makes the process manageable. For example, momentum is like a snowball. It starts small, but every push makes it grow. Rule 2. Find enjoyment in the process. Rewarding yourself after finishing a task can help stop procrastination by making you focus on the satisfaction of doing the work, rather than feeling pressured to finish. When you enjoy what you're doing, you're less likely to delay. Giving rewards can be anything like a bite of chocolate, a small game session, enjoying music, etc. Rewarding yourself helps motivate you to take action and finish tasks without feeling stressed. This approach makes the tasks feel more enjoyable and reduces the urge to procrastinate. Rule 3. Parkinsons Law method. This law states that work expands to fill the time available for its completion. In other words, if you allow a week to finish a task that only takes 2 hours, the task will feel bigger and more overwhelming, stretching to fill the entire week. To apply this law effectively, you just need to follow the principle, like setting a shorter deadline, which makes you feel a sense of urgency, so you focus better and start working immediately. It helps you avoid overthinking and leaves less time to delay or get distracted, leaving less room for procrastination. Rule 4. Self-discipline. Self-discipline helps fight procrastination by making you stick to tasks, even when you don't feel like it. By setting clear goals, Breaking tasks into small steps and following a routine, you can get started and finish tasks more easily. Practicing small, consistent actions, like setting a timer or avoiding distractions, helps you build self-discipline. Over time, these habits make it easier to work without needing motivation, reducing procrastination. Conclusion: overcoming procrastination isn't about waiting for the perfect moment or the right motivation. It's about taking charge and transforming your approach. By understanding that procrastination is simply a way to avoid discomfort and recognizing the role of inertia in keeping us stagnant, we can begin to make meaningful changes. Remember the 4 rules we've discussed. Now, it's time to tackle those excuses. You do have the time and you don't need to wait for motivation. What you need is discipline and a willingness to start small. Each step forward, no matter how tiny, is progress.